Starting off this countdown, we have the zombie broadcast. In February of 2013, an unknown hacker hacked a station in Montana, KRTV. This happened during the broadcast of the Steve Wilkos show. Now, what they did was hack into the channel's emergency alert system. Then they broadcast an alert saying that there was a zombie invasion happening in Montana. They said that zombies were leaving their graves and that some parts of Montana were already taken over by them. However, this warning was not taken seriously. Joke's on them though, because if it was real, they probably all would have died. Others thought that it was just an advertising for the show The Walking Dead. But no, it was just a random hacker trying to scare people and have fun. They also tried to hack into other television stations, but they were unsuccessful. In our 9th spot today, we have the poem. On February 26, 2022, Anonymous, as part of the cyber war declared to Russia, hacked a number of pro-Kremlin TV channels. They decided to broadcast a poem called No War. It's about the Russian-Ukrainian war. On top of that, they played footage of what was going on and played Ukrainian music. And recently, they did it again, which I will be talking about in a little bit. In our 8th spot today, we have the Inappropriate Viewing. In February of 2009, someone hacked KVOA, a channel in Tucson, Arizona. The hack occurred while they were airing the Super Bowl game between Cardinals and the Steelers. And they decided to replace the game with some adult content, if you get what I'm saying. It featured a couple getting it on. And what was funny is that many people sat through it thinking that it was a commercial. But then when there was nudity, they're like, okay, something's going on here, kids, cover your eyes. The hacker wasn't discovered until 2 years later. FBI figured out that it was Frank Gonzalez, who worked for Cox Cable. The irony on that name. In our 7th spot, we have the Russian TV services. Just recently, amidst the horror that's happening over in Ukraine, Anonymous decided to hack into Russian TVs and to show them the true devastation of Putin's Ukraine invasion. The group then shared videos of this deed onto Twitter. At first, they just targeted the channels on Russia 24, Moscow 24, Channel 1, Wink, and LVI. However, now all Russian state TV channels have been hacked. The broadcast ended with a message that read, "Ordinary Russians are against the war," and then called for Russians to oppose the attack on Ukraine. Now my thoughts are with anyone currently affected by this war. It is truly devastating. In our 6th spot today, we have the Max Headroom incident. Now this is a very famous broadcast interruption. On November 22nd of 1987 at 9:14, Chicago sportscaster Dan Roan was doing his segment when all of a sudden the screen just went black. 15 seconds later, a creepy figure appeared on screen. It was a man dressed in a rubber mask wearing sunglasses. After 30 seconds, the channel regained control of their broadcast. But 2 hours later, it happened again. This time to a different station who was playing Sherlock Holmes at the time. This time, the figure said some weird things, like he held up a glove and he said, "My brother is wearing the other one." Then he pulled it on saying, "But it's dirty. It's like you got blood stains on it." I don't know what's going on. To this day, the hacker has never been caught, and we still don't know why this person did what he did, and it's pretty creepy. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Wyoming hijacking. Now this is a pretty creepy hijacking that occurred in 2006 to a channel in Wyoming. Someone hacked an unnamed channel affiliated with ABC. Now reports don't say exactly what channel, so I guess they want some sort of privacy. Anyways, during the evening news, they hacked and played a video of an animated head while text appeared by it. The text read things like, "You are ill, we just want to fix you, and you will see such pretty things." It's pretty creepy, right? Well, it gets worse. The hacker also showed some strange images on the screen, accompanied by a strange tone. A number of people reportedly got sick after watching this. They ended up with headaches, nausea, even amnesia. Some even threw up after hearing this tone. Other people hallucinated upon hearing it. To this day, people don't know who was behind it, but some people believe that it wasn't a hacker behind this. Instead, they think it was some paranormal activity. In our 4th spot, we have the Israeli TV stations. In November of 2016, an unknown hacker hacked into Israeli TV stations, channels 2 and 10, during the evening news. In replace of that, they broadcasted messages mocking Israel and saying that God is judging the nation. In fact, at that time, Israel was facing terrible wildfires, so they claimed that this was done by God as a punishment. The hacker also transmitted images of Islamic religious areas and audio of an Islamic call to prayer and scriptures from from the Quran. Now, this was aired the night before a vote to restrict Muslim prayer call. They wanted to ban it, citing noise pollution. So this hack was done to be like, God is angry at your decision and this vote, and it was done to try and get them to change their mind about it all. In our third spot, we have the Weather Channel hacking. I don't know who would want to hack a weather channel, but this individual thought it was a good idea. But they didn't really cause mischief. They just wanted to stop the channel from running its regular program, which is quite odd. So the hacking occurred on April 18th, 2019 from 6 a.m. to 7:39 a.m. Later, it was discovered that the hack was going to be a ransomware attack. So the hacker wanted the station to pay them money before they could resume airing. But that did not end up happening, so better luck next time. Moving on to number 2, we have the adult entertainment cable. This next person decided to hack into some adult entertainment programs like American Ecstasy and Playboy. This occurred in September of 1987. After hacking into it, they played religious messages, I guess to try and tell people that what they were doing and watching is sinful and that they need to turn to God for help. The hacker was later revealed as 38-year-old Thomas M. Haney, who worked for the Christian Broadcast Network. He was later charged for the hacks, but they were dropped because there was a lack of evidence. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the aliens. On November 26th of 1979, an alien hacked into Southern television during the 5 p.m. news. Now, viewers could see the newscaster, Andrew Gardner, but instead of hearing him, they were hearing an alien, or so the broadcast claimed. The voice they were hearing claimed to be an alien called Vrillon, who was part of an alien group called the Ashtar Galactic Command. He said that humans needed to stop engaging in warfare and that every weapon on Earth should be destroyed. This should be done in order for the human race to live in peace, and only then could humans get to the higher realms of spiritual evolution. Sadly, the aliens' message didn't have a huge impact on viewers, but to this day, the hacker remains unknown.
At number 9, we have Loony Larry. You thought the only time kids would be safe was while they're watching cartoons. It turns out kids are never safe, thanks global warming. But there was a broadcast that was hacked in Wisconsin. A bunch of kids were just hanging out watching SpongeBob. Well, if it was SpongeBob, it was probably a bunch of kids and some college students as well. But out of nowhere, the show was switched to this dude who called himself Loony Larry.
Hi, this is Loony Larry. Welcome to my show, and
The clip goes on like that, and Larry does some pretty strange stuff like breaking SpongeBob records in this creepy basement and saying some pretty controversial things that I won't repeat here. At number 8, we have Disney Channel porn. This story is so cliche it almost seems like it would never happen outside of a movie, but here we are. There was one sunny morning where a bunch of kids were sitting around watching the Disney Channel, probably while their parents were getting stuff ready so they could go to school. And then some hardcore got laid over the broadcast. It was 2007 in New Jersey, and a bunch of kids who were watching a show called Handy Manny stopped seeing a young boy living out his dreams of carpentry and instead saw something that is only saved for mommies and daddies who love each other. Comcast was the cable network that caused the mix-up, but they never said why they screwed up so royally. They just used the Shaggy method and said, "It wasn't me." At number 7, we have Fight for Freedom. Not all the TV interruptions have to be perverted or weird to be scary. Some of them can be totally for a good cause, but they will scare the crap out of you because you have no idea what that means for your country, and it could mean that it's time for a revolution, and revolutions are always terrifying because people will just start dying. In the city of Torun in Poland, a broadcast got stolen in 1985. Why? Because 4 very important people in the Polish science community had a message for the people. They wanted everyone to boycott the upcoming election. They were tired of how the government had been taking from the people and demanded that the people rise up against them. The police were able to trace the signal back to these 4 men, but because of civil unrest and fear of a revolution, they didn't arrest them but only fined them. Yeah, public officials start to be real nice when the walls are closing in on them. At number 5, we have C-SPAN meets Russia. A lot of people tune into C-SPAN to get their daily dose of news, and there was one day in 2017 when everything was going as normal. There was a bunch of people in suits talking about the budget and deficit and Congress, and then out of nowhere, it stopped being about boring politics, and then it was just a boring Russian talk show. Everyone was like, what what is happening? And this didn't just pop up for a few seconds and then disappear, it was on the screen for 10 minutes. That's a long time to have interference with a Russian signal. Now, why is this on a list of top 10 scary TV interruptions? Well, that's because a lot of people think this was Russia testing their ability to hijack American television signals, and it was extremely successful, if that's what it was. That means they could still be doing this, but not switching our programming, but grabbing our data. Stay away from my data, Russia. No one needs to know what my data is except for Instagram so they can give me better ads. Yeah, I want the good ads. Discount Steam games and gaming accessories. See, that's how you get the good ones. At number 4 we have zombies. Sometimes you're just trying to watch some trash TV and then a zombie outbreak ruins everything. And if you don't watch trash TV, then I don't trust you, and you deserve to be eaten by zombies because you're up to something. I don't know what it is. Well, there was an episode of the Steve Wilkos show that was just being as trash as ever. Everyone around the world was just drinking it in and loving every second of watching people's lives fall apart, and then they got hit with some news that told them that their life was about to fall apart. Well, if you lived in Montana, you did. This following message started moving across the screen.
Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the message.
That is terrifying, and also you shouldn't do that to people. Not because it's going to scare them, but because someone is going to get really eager. Some people have been waiting their whole life for the apocalypse, and now they have the chance to go full apocalypse. You're just giving them false hope. Like, that's rude. At number 2 we have threats against the Hezbollah. In 2006 the Israel-Lebanon war was reaching new heights. As the old saying goes, all is fair in love and war. Israel wanted to find more ways to attack Lebanon outside of just explosives and bullets. The Hezbollah was a group that was very much the spearhead in the war against Israel, and they had a television channel known as Al-Manar TV. This is how a lot of people in Lebanon would get political information and updates on the war. Well, Israel found a way to hijack this signal and send a very threatening signal to all the people in Lebanon. They showed the leader of the Hezbollah with a crosshair over his face and the message, "Your time will come." If you're at home watching that channel for the news and then you see this would be so terrifying. You wouldn't be able to fall asleep after that. And for our number 1 spot we have Christine Chubbuck, one of the most shocking things to ever happen on television. It changed news, it changed broadcasting, and it changed the world. Christine Chubbuck was a news anchor and her life wasn't moving exactly as she wanted. She was constantly battling against the different parts of her life. She wanted to bring interesting, wholesome news stories into the news, but that's not what got views. It was salacious death and terror that people wanted to watch, so her bosses were pushing her to find those kinds of stories. Her love life wasn't exactly what she wanted either. It's believed that at 30 years old, Christine had never been physically intimate with anyone. With that plus a few other factors stacked on top of her, like her inability to have children, she was dipping into a very depressed state. Because of all this, on July 15th, 1974, she walked into the studio, started a live broadcast, and then committed on live television. People originally thought it was a prank. It wasn't until the story was in newspapers that everyone knew it was real.
Coming in at number 7 we have Anonymous versus Fox News.
Dear Fox News, it has come to our attention that you have been alienating the American people by propagating the left-right.
Good old hacktivation station. I think hacktivist is my favourite word of this century. In 2015, Anonymous, known for their creepy smiling Guy Fawkes masks and altered voices, took over a live Fox News broadcast. Now, Fox News was conducting a euthanasia interview when Anonymous took over. Now, they started by saying, "Dear Fox News, it has come to our attention that you have been alienating the American people by propagating the left-right." They continued by berating Fox for purposefully scaring people about terrorism and covering up corporate corruption. Anonymous said, "You have sacrificed your journalistic integrity for the dollar." They end by saying Fox have been poisoning the minds of America for too long. Anonymous does not forgive, Anonymous does not forget. Scary. Honestly, I don't know if I like Anonymous or not, but their masks do freak me out. The mystery here to me lies in who Anonymous really are. We just don't know yet, and also how can they take down such a big and powerful station like Fox? Coming in at number 6 we have Captain Midnight. So who is Captain Midnight? Well, that really is the question. He sounds maybe a bit more glamorous than he actually is. Captain Midnight was an adventure franchise, but in this instance it was a character constructed by a disgruntled HBO employee who was livid at the channel for raising their subscription prices to $12.95 a month, which I think is around the equivalent of $30 today. The interruption included a threat to the Showtime movie channel too. They simply said, "Beware." Then there was a period of black and white messed signal. Honestly, have a little watch. All of the cracking and buzzing throughout this is supposed to be HBO station trying to get their power back and Captain Midnight fighting by upping his power, which actually really does sound like an exciting superhero fight. Eventually HBO lost and was forced to stop at risk of blowing their transmitters. Okay, a little mid-list urban legend for you. Coming in at number 5 we have Baby Ogre at midnight. So the Baby Ogre commercial is a Japanese ad for Kleenex, which sure is weird. The story goes that the commercial was hijacked by a curse, and after it aired in 1986, everyone involved died or met some kind of horrible luck. For example, the woman who was supposed to have birthed a demon baby in the advert died after actually giving birth in real life. Further urban legends say that if you watch the commercial at midnight, the footage will be interrupted and will warp in front of your very eyes, and you too will become a victim of the curse. Some people in the YouTube comment section for this video say that they have seen the commercial at midnight and it was interrupted and they are cursed, so watch out, I guess. Coming in at number 2 we have the Aliens of Area 51. Coast to Coast AM was a talk show run by a chap called Art Bell. Now he was pretty famous, or infamous I should say, in his day. He did used to get a lot of strange calls on the show. The incident that took place on September the 12th, 1997 really takes the biscuit though. That night Art got a call from a guy who claimed to have been an employee at Area 51, which obviously is the conspiracy base for the US Air Force, where people say, you know, there were aliens that crash landed and were studied. The caller sounded absolutely terrified and claimed that they were coming for him, whoever they are. He said that he did not have much time to share with the world what he knew about Area 51. He talked about extra-dimensional beings who are not what they appear to be. He said that they have infiltrated the US military and are now, quote-unquote, taking over.
So give us something quick.
Okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings.
The caller began to sound even more erratic and panicked, and finally he started talking about how governments are trying to get human populations down to a manageable number so they're easier to control, which does sound like some conspiracy stuff to me. Just after this the line went dead when the power cut out at the station. Now that's pretty fishy, right? By the time they got the backup generators running, the caller was gone. Now theorists do say it was more than a coincidence that the caller was cut off and then never heard from again, just when he began talking about the government. I mean, what do you think? Is Area 51 real? Have aliens infiltrated the military? Nah. Alright, speaking of aliens, this is one of my favourite mysterious broadcast interruptions. We have the story of Vrillon. On a cold winter's night in the south of the UK in the 1970s, an alien interrupted the news, or so the story goes. In a regular newscast, Southern TV's news anchor Andrew Gardner was regaling the day's news headline when at 10:05 PM the TV picture started wobbling and the sound of the news anchor's measured delivery was all of a sudden replaced by a distorted alien voice. This voice then hijacked the station for nearly 6 minutes. The voice proclaimed to be one Vrillon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command. He said, "For many years you have been seeing us as lights in the sky. We speak to you now in peace and wisdom as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this planet, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course that you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings in our worlds around you." Use the word world a lot, have a listen for yourself.
False packets and guides of wisdom operating on your world. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money.
So if you don't quite understand what he's saying, he's warning about false leaders and prophets putting money into evil pursuits. He ends the speech by imploring planet Earth to change its ways before it's, I quote, too late. Blimey. It really is still a mystery as to who is behind this prank. If it was a prank, it could have been, you know, like an actual alien. I for one absolutely hope that in the past 40 years, Vrillon and the gang have been working on clearer transmissions, because Honey barely understood a word of that.